benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe. Om benza kele kelo ya sarva bene bahom pe.
Sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. All mother sentient beings, limitless as space, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience. May they experience happiness, be free from suffering, and swiftly may they attain precious, unsurpassed, perfectly complete enlightenment. For that purpose, until I attain Buddhahood, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. Until death, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. From today until this time tomorrow, I will apply my body, speech, and mind to virtue. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the bodhisattva's path. I take refuge in the Buddhas until I attain the essence of awakening. Likewise, I take refuge in the Dharma and in the assembly of the bodhisattvas. Just as the Buddhas of the past gave rise to bodhicitta and progressed along the bodhisattva's path, so shall I give rise to bodhicitta for the benefit of all beings and practice the stages of the bodhisattva's path. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. Until awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, limitless as space, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Jame Shabso Gawa Chibda 人类皆得走白了，姐姐眼泪凝结着白骨，顿顿把我见过娘姐个，把天天就门在个马上，夜夜送终可乐见得用。多帮派心着家儿走，战斗过程当见我所走，哪界分我问的所的了南家兄，让所人别再做太难走。所个个人一些着我下，强大一些喷外去运送，天面年在都所结白手，不敢的过来的。夜间多接着，千年皆喷完落着了，天来头即将他点白油，等大哥当爷爷娘，百万口我能着见。三角神就不把眼睛儿，天内神就这不等着有，世界大界着我用的的，都是没动位，起码这些不烦恼的了。天内那边是感叹皆有，pompe de jom name la redo, nyama de jom de dong sa ji de, jeta wanye, la ve de jom len de sa do ya, le ye yen din ye ba nyan le ye. 结巴掌啊，望着没玩的，把些掌柜都被碾碎的，把些长筒我们就懂。
Namo I and all sentient ones with reverence, three doors take refuge. In the Guru triple gem, ye dams and victorious hosts, Namo I and all sentient ones with reverent three doors take refuge in the Guru triple gem, ye dams and victorious hosts. Alas, to liberate all sentient ones and transform samsara to Kilaya's mandala, I'll rouse the four immeasurables. Alas, to liberate all sentient ones and transform samsara to Kilaya's mandala, I'll rouse the four immeasurables.
Zo
Page 63.
Gala VajraKilaya Mangadala Mangadala Dadala Dadala Shadaraja Hong Drubchen Yombo Maraya Hong Om VajraKilaya Raktan Zola Mendal Raja Drabge Vaishangura Maraya Om Dobaji Namla Thong Troye Kamsam Jeno Vala Jisa Jabarjo Dani Bar Jembor Zar Lagbaye Jetendo Akarbo Yemba Nyeme Jengor Jevus Mamarbo Yeje Sormo Ngala Dave Jengor Sima Kibaza Maye Tendo Ong Hong So Aha Yenje Sormo Ngala Nyeme Jengor Sima Kibaza Aye tendo la bandam yendo na wode jove sanzing arjol dele renga ya yonjo lamji sawarjo mahasheneda jana sobawa amagova samaya Samaya Lam Benza Indale Yavya Nyombar Yobe Sanche Semje Wozerje Purba Kardemje Yene Yege Hongdengar Yo Won Benzergel Hongza Hong Ye Yongse Jerbal Chobon Tena Sharje Jani Jin Samba Saye Perwa Dan Yen Jagye Namba Kame Nam Jaje Perwa Sersa Nowar Ngardan Demba Garje Son Mene Demba Dav Meya Tatsan Choba Di Jamde Komal Hongkara Jimsho Jela Chobo Je Jamde Wamala Tobo Chite Chobo Je Yavyam Chantapta Jeba Jamde Wame Loyala Gomar Ye Chosen Jebo De Jiva Kenya Wasam La Person Junyena Sawar Jor Dadang Sim Chok Papu Boga Tamje Jang Cho Chang Tena Ne Zamba Sharje Chani Tsuncha Nazo To Shen Shardang Chewa Zep Kilaya Yeda Tere Rupe Pansame Badambar Yo Jin Korsam Je La Zo Nam Je Tawar Om Garbo Demba Amarbo Toga Hong Hong Borere Tsembar Yo Sanje Gwenje Ranje Go Manje Dorje Jevyenle Barbe Tobo Mevzeba Kwaye Ye Da Ji Karve Om Je Sop Je Jarwa Nam Je Kola Ni Ben Je Ba Per Kwaye Tok Je San Lap Tam Je Om Je Nam Ba Tser De Tawar Tempe Le Je Se Zin Cho Dan Bar Devar Shekpa Tam Je Je Kodor Ji Dani Toy Jo Om Buddha Kalaya Kayam Benzani Zwalan Zwala Tranzola Tranzol Putra Putra Sarvana sa pa na ye ho sa je kun je ra ye song ma ni dor je barve chobo me se pa song ye da da ji je ba al was mar bon je cho je jarwa nam je song la ni ben je ba per song ga sa lap tam je a ye ga nam ba de Demba ala tembe magane bancho temba de war ye ba tam je je song do ji da ni do jo won be ma gala gala ya waka benzane sarwan de chen shi shou da na ye hong pe san je kun je ran yin tong ma ni dor je che yuan le bar we zhou wo me ze pa to je ye de da ji je to ga hong le wo zhen huan bon zhi so je jia wa nam je tong la ni ben je ba pe to je san la tam je hong ga nam ba zhe de nian ga ten be sem je te tom cho de ba de wa ye ba tam je je to do ji da ni do jo won ben za ke le ke la ya Zita benzane, pedale mendala mangutala ho, jen kor sem je dor je sem, sa wo le song we wu jin kam sem la ja. Tam je je so ye she so wan ger rei zhe ge niu mong ba ne jiang de sa wong a ne se zhi de de zhou de je de zhou bo yang wu de xe ne ong a wong sem de je chen de ne da dang sim cho ge ne sem de ten be kam sem se pa san la wang jo war jo ong a hong ong a hong ong a hong sa pa sho re sa ma ya za ho ban hoi hong ta jie ke ben do den de sam da nian je gang de wa sang jian zhen le dong ze be wan dang e zhen de zai jie sa pa ran na pei jie to ge hong le wo ze sob jian zhi sob jie jia wa ge ne dan yin ko dan jie ba la po to jie ge Surwa tabe de wa ye ba tam je je ko song to yen den le tam je je mo wo ba won zhen ran yin char dar wa sang hua ra na hong ge de dang go we ne ngan de ten ba le song we hong hong zhang Mong la mam ban dang nam se jer de da le karma hera ga zo war jeb reng a ya yam je ger jer be jon san de ze je bak Le gia nang gai chan tong yao yao nang te pe kan we yao pe we jin de ye ye nga ye wang ge yong se do ba jo ra rang to ge wo ze je ye ye san ba jin zhang jiao Lord, the
Light rays radiate to the 10 directions from the life force syllable and the mantra garland at my heart, and arouse the heart essence of the three roots holy pledge. All their blessings of body, speech, and mind descend like rainfall in the forms of white red, and blue dissolving unimpededly into my three places. Then all the blessings and powers of all the victorious ones, compassion in the form of inconceivable VajraKilaya deities, large and small, softly fall and dissolve into me. The deities of my body mandala and the deities in union residing in the centers of channels are like the seeds of an open sesame pod. They and all the deities of the mandala reverberate with the sound of the mantra like the sound of a broken beehive.
소탈감이 들어가는 되게 할구나 되게 우리 나오라고 옛날에 나다 달려만 자와 탐진지 바지 이 사제 탐진이 자와나 거래 자르들 거래 되게 자리 자성무시 되게 잡치고래 되게 바닥에서 되게 강한 문제고요 동네를 문제고요 다 잡을 되게 작화를 해야지 너무 가양미리들이 민총세에 세 강화수를 약하로 놓았다가 누구를 고래 인생 같은 거요. 됐어요. 이제 포부들은 다 나서도 이제 이제 동네 막다 늘지만 동네를 고고래. 포부들 들으면 나서서 못 봐. 이렇게 참아 포부들 들이제 싸와 강해서는 물리에는 나게 들래 정말 나게 들래 너무 되지 다다니 고소를 누가 강양 마단 잡아 가지고 왔다 그래 뭐지 설이 잡아 지금만 잡는 설서 배우고 봐도 매요한데 왜 다다 강양 미치 자장제 그게 나도 매요도 다리 다티 너무 그렇게 않나마 레사잖아 디디 너무 왜 제는 너무 레사 뒤에 그 나만 해봤대 매년 그거에 그때 다다 주제가 갈라 동에서 강내용 어때 내 장을 요리했지 너희 담들 해줘 이제 한번 잡아하지 너무들 늘 오늘 했니 대화도 너희가 대화도 살아야지 대화도 사람 그지 이 대화들 차네 다들이 다음은 내가 지금 조사 동네에서 그래. 산지에 그때 싹지 탐지에 동네에 져서 빼라서 갈아는 심지도 나무래. 나무를 싸도 나무 막아서 따들이 나서서 그래. 자야비 나서서 그래. 오페대를 사지게 나무래. 대화라 마차스. 저와 마차스. 동네는 마당에 동네들 파도 왔다 그래서 내가 쳐봐서 동네지 내가 속으로지 삭제 삼체 동네 줘지 그제 삼체 못다 와 삭제 삼체 동네 줘지 삭제가 내가 딱 봐요 말이지 주도 다당하고 사서 뛰어나요 뒤에 제 삼체는 시키는 당고 삭제가 내가 되서 맞아서 야 사이버 되서 뒤에 쳐다가 되게 다 상이다다 내와라 차 내와 저부터 남미지니 벌레까지 다 메시지 보고도 들이 뒤쇼를 예나들이 드레싱 차도 차단을 다 내지 서비스로 싸운디 다서 아주 가려서 아주 다 너무 봐 속사야 Nyumba chokta, nyumba chokti, sa le teki, tati sangi, chokdaga duti, tata payo mali, daji yumi, duze matapa, yuta jela, ta duze raji matapa azi, teki chawayore, daji yumi chawayore, peti chokdaga duso, teki rama mi ba. touch your one chill out of it. Mr. Desire, Master Saturday about the mate. Surely come with it. Tell it, the mammy, he just go away. Or tell it to great, after it go away. There is a duty that means you had to catch it already.
Dharma friends, continue to recite the mantra quietly to yourself. And so today I will speak a bit about the 4 maras, the 4 demons in the lineage supplication on page 5 on the bottom. And just first generally speaking, the 4 maras or 4 demons are explained in the vehicle of individual liberation. The Vinaya teachings have their set of 4 maras, and then in the Chöd teachings, for example, there is also a different set of 4 maras, but actually they are quite similar. And so here it speaks of overcoming, conquering these demons. And conquer, so in Tibetan it is Gyarva, and for example, this is what we refer to His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, for example. Holiness literally means the conqueror, who is the Gyarva. And what they have conquered, what all the Buddhas have conquered, is the 4 maras, the 4 demons. So they are victorious over those 4 maras. And in general, this term demon is something that it's a very widespread term. And normally when we think of a demon, then we think of something negative, something that is undesirable, something that causes suffering. For example, we call like a terrorist in the world like a demon, for example. Someone who causes a lot of harm towards the country or the people, often really meaninglessly. So that is what we identify as a demon with. And that is an outer demon. And basically it is something that causes suffering. And so then here, in this context, the first demon is the demon of the aggregates. So that is, on the outer level, anything undesirable in relation to the body, physical pain, illness, and so on. But what is the root of this outer demon? It is actually the inner demon that are one's own afflictive emotions, the karmas that one has committed with an afflicted mind. So often people wonder, why is it that other people hurt me? Why is it, for example, that I practice the Dharma, I only practice the Dharma, and still I always run into difficulties and I always suffer. So people always wondered why things happen to them, even though they didn't do anything wrong. And that is because of that demon of the afflictions and karmas that we have created in previous lives. In previous lives, this demon of the afflictive emotions has accumulated karma, and this karma is now ripening. And that is often why, even though we practice the Dharma, we still run into difficulties and suffering. But recognizing that this is karma ripening, you should know that this is actually a purification of karma, of suffering. And if you learn to accept or tolerate your suffering, you are conquering this demon, the demon of the aggregates, and also the afflictions. And then there is the demon of the son of the gods, the godly son. And so there's basically 2 kinds of demons, the demon of suffering and the demon of happiness. And this demon of the godly son a god is something that we identify as desirable or happiness. So that can also be a demon. Happiness can also be a demon because we are attached to happiness. And if we are attached to ordinary happiness, in the end, this happiness creates suffering. The Buddha had said everything contaminated is the cause of suffering. For example, if you like to eat sweet food, you eat it, but then often it tastes very good, it creates some pleasure, happiness, but in the end it might also cause diabetes or all kinds of diseases that you can't cure. So that is why the Buddha said, do not be attached to pleasure, have no aversion against suffering. Suffering purifies negative karma. If you become attached to pleasure, to happiness, that creates more suffering. So the Buddha said, therefore, everything that is contaminated is the cause of suffering. Everything that is compounded is impermanent. So these contaminated kind of worldly pleasures that we enjoy are not permanent. They will never stay. Now you enjoy them, the next moment they're already gone. Therefore, do not be attached to contaminated or worldly pleasures. Being attached to these is what we call the demon of the son of the gods. And then there is the demon of the Lord of Death. And now we are attached to this life, and being attached to the pleasures of this life, we strive day and night, working very hard to achieve happiness, because we want to be happy in this life. But then along the way, as we strive, we also accumulate a lot of negative karma and afflictive emotions. We are competitive, we get jealous, we get angry, and so on. So these afflictions remain within the mind. Also in the Kilaya practice, we speak about the 6 seeds or the 6 afflictive emotions. So this life is not permanent. All of the things that you ran after will not last. But then there is the demon of the Lord of Death. There is impermanence. For as long as you perceive a duality of self and other, there is impermanence. There is death due to self-grasping. And that is the demon of the Lord of Death. Without any choice, you will have to die. In this world, everyone has to die, no matter how powerful they might be. There is no one in this world who can stay and not die. Everyone will die. And when you die, then what happens next? Then you will follow the karma accumulated. Karma will continue to ripen. So for this reason, it's important to recognize those 4 demons.
다 풍부들 달라지는 것에 아따하면 좋은 거요래 들이대라 들이 고속다 동단이 큰 자타는 개발을 좀 고속을 나타다 등이 다행적으로래 짜짜라 강들 류인데 나를 내라 말해 소소로 톡다 톡 잡았다네 나리 소리만 소문에 류전 좀 강한지 도르고 토만이 잡았다고요. 류는 로강다를 해시. 로강 상이 지아하면 소남을 내라 해시. 배는 로가를 돕신지 탐지 또도다를 지내. 좀지게 직사를 하소기. 송 적등을 이시체네. 그래서 뭐지가 송을. 오, 류슬라야 요레스. 도라야 요레스 파라달라 요레. 자다기 류비 직장은 말이. 왜 탐지기로 dimri를 하소 왜시 저거로 더 삼모당을 토만 일도 가고 사요 말이지 대들 류들 라포트 누가 렉동은 초대가 물을 못 지래 물을 못 지들이 랑 강을 절레져 좋고요 사제를 주는 쪽으로 sempre 들어 아주마를 상상인지 아주마를 상상입니다 물을 못 지래 담전시가 상에서 장제일 탐지하고 그래. 탐지는 담전시가 안 돼. 좀 동시성아 하장들이 시작된 뭐 레벨을 라니 그들이 메시바도 쌓지 보이봐. 나시 동호와 대상마당에 다시 배포 어디 강하잖아. 마음 빨라 양자형도 되어서 되는 줄구나. 빨리 좀 되지만 여기 시키봐. 대리들이다가 당부를 위해 집계 제공아 강의를 집계 제발아 다 이서 말하고 집계 제공. 좀 탈취와 많이 하다 궁금하면 미 탈취와 많이 하여 누구를 갖다면 말겠지. 사실 다 이서 말하는 거. 그것이 대리들이 법무들 대리 능력이 용들로 원래 호박치를 치려고 요래 주직이 정확한 계량 당보들을 구독들을 상보다면들이 루들을 집에대해서 용도죠 같이 왔다지만도 루디 나중부터니 나로 말이 있으면 양양도 상고했지.
And so it is through the demon of the aggregates that we experience a lot of suffering. And now the Buddha skillfully introduced us to the relative and the ultimate truth in order to overcome it. And on the relative level, the method is to learn to accept the suffering and illness and so on that we encounter. And on the physical level, we should also examine our own body, asking, am I really this body or not? What am I really? And in the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, consciousness, the guest, will cast aside the guest house of the body. So first, you should think of your body as a guest house, like a hotel. And whether it is a good or a bad hotel depends on the merit that you bring from previous lives. It's your karma. And in whichever way we appear in the 6 realms of samsara is due to the karma we have accumulated. For example, birth as an animal. Jigten Sumgön said in the Gongchik that cause and effect is the momentary appearance of one's own mind. So one's own body appears in this way as a human being due to the karma accumulated. And like everyone has a body, there are poisonous snakes, scorpions, birds, and so on, gods, everyone has a body. And this body, this physical appearance, is the momentary manifestation of one's own karma, so one's state of mind. So think about the causes that create a certain body, and then based on that, recognize I am not really this body. It is just a manifestation of karma. And among the 6 realms of samsara, it is said that the human birth is the most supreme, because having a human birth, you have some kind of freedom over what to become. You can become anything in a precious human body. You can become a Buddha or another sentient being. So this human existence is like a crossroad between going up and down. And many of you have learned about the difficulty of finding a precious human body, so you know about that. And actually, if you only know that really well, a very powerful awareness can arise, a wisdom can arise within you. You really understand how precious this human existence is. As a human being, you have the capability to understand, the intellect to understand, and to transform, to express yourself. You can utilize this human existence. And the way to utilize it is in order to achieve happiness in the future, to create the causes for a fortunate birth in the future. And that is accomplished by trusting in karma, cause and effect. And so now, in terms of the body that we now have, the Buddha had said, you should not fall into either of the 2 extremes. You should not fall into the extremes of extreme self-indulgence, but also not into the extreme of self-mortification, where you put yourself through all sorts of hardships and austerities. So you should have a measure in between, not too good and not too bad. And in this way, you overcome the demon of the aggregates. Less attachment to the body also leads to less suffering, less and less suffering. And that is important in whatever you do, whether it is about your Dharma practice or your mundane activities. So first, think about the relative level, karma, and the accumulation of merit and so on. And try not to focus too much on your body. Try to not cherish the body too much, a little bit less. Of course, you do the things that are important for the body, but you don't overly cherish your physical appearance or your body. Again and again, reflecting that this is not who I really am.
Then do something what the device passing to something something is a very good tapila. Nita yelam tasama shawgali. Oh, don't really get a tata. Pugu namin sar trote, that's like material. Tara saji kang, slakang, the election. Lama and the guy, down and the carretilla, della ranki, yichi, the passing. Down yichi, you did ba. Drubchen, so the mayor Tado, the Chiteba, the Besalamiba, Sanchuk to the Lamiba, so Sanchuk to Goret, Jim Finger, or Tesam Jelly, Chitty our Karichen at the Pachibore, Sargon Tag, Lamizar Trot, Rata Jeremy, Yata Yadu Bob Classilla, Flying the bar, Tap to a Jeremy, the Tats of a Revoca Togo, yeah. That's him, Jabera. It's a long strategy in the bar. Well, that's a little major mental to say about two characters. Nothing to take on a princess. Take our child, three bodies in Nati, body man, Captain German, Cadicina, large freedom, the Jaja Jata to drop a word. Large, you high drop the word. Bella. Two round city something said the she said the jelly. Flak one was the doctrine go away. Job watchable car is top by the same jelly tongue maris. Same tongue not on Masama carry. Nazi, lion to but the Masama. Then sitting pingles and roses, Tony, leading jet up the Latin, Latin Lansan, Gina. No one saw the shadow. The one I chase a meeting. Oh, Latin shadow with the Chateau. They thought the last gate about. Dear over the channel. Oh, but that's a leading irons about the tuna. Oh, Homa made a bacha. That's the knowledge. So I gave it garden, with the beer on the last. Don't buy me so. That being a touch about it, didn't that was something you already. Good of you be alarmed to irons of the Nazi, Yodi, Zonti. The reason Koba Tomama Bakadi, Jaja Jayore, Saji Salaki Kapto marriage, to Naminam Gogoret. Tonda with Deba Chute, Da me pass, and took some with J Tabna, same calling to the Tama and the China Bena. Flat, use it, flat chip on the Bachadi. Saji Rani Zahadina, Lada Dodger and then I've gone. Yeah, Ranket come country. There is shit or come back and down or shit or the shadow, sit there chicken or side of the Mandra Lagoon. Tell me to watch how they look as well on my the other shit of the jet. Jackie attacked on the tail. No, sir, just over those. Top Pungo, you told them means out of me, Mammy, but Daddy, the Mammy Barrage. That you know, God is sitting females of the Lord. Dr. Taram, the city, or Capital Latina. We don't need that truth. 바로 이발이 클라스상한테 남의 클라스 우리 미토고래 제 미토고가 뭐고 소소게 딱히 땅 그래 되는 하고 두게 파티다를 이렇게 풍부죠 남의 클라스로서 상하이라는 게 깨는 게 봐. 제
On the outer level, when we follow the path of individual liberation and the bodhisattva path, in all of our activities and whatever we do, whether it is a dharma activity or a mundane activity, we practice according to the 37 practices where it says you should take suffering, illness, and so forth as the path. So how do you take it as the path? Whatever suffering it is, naturally we have an aversion against it. It is something that I don't like, I don't want. And by seeing things from this perspective, we are actually creating suffering upon suffering. So rather than thinking in this way, when you're sick, for example, think that I am purifying my negative karma. Or if you have to pay for something, then that is my act of generosity, my practice of the 6 paramitas. So in this way, by cultivating love and compassion in your day-to-day activities, you are engaging in practice. You are taking difficulties as the path. And then entering the swift path of the secret mantra, here it says, may conquering the demon of the aggregates liberate this body as the deity. So then here, according to this path, the demon of the aggregates is conquered through the generation stage, the visualization of the deity. And it can be any yidam deity that appears in your mind. It can also be your guru appearing in the mind. First, it arises on the basis of trust. The 3 kinds of faith. The clear faith that recognizes the qualities of the deity, and longing faith that wishes to become free from suffering. And then trusting faith that trusts in the infallibility of karma, cause and effect, and specifically the infallibility of bodhicitta. Mainly we need to cultivate bodhicitta. If you never separate from the altruistic mind, then whatever you do in the Dharma or your worldly activities will become very powerful. So may the body be liberated as the deity by visualizing the deity again and again. What is the actual power, the ability that you attain? What is the ultimate result of the generation stage? Ultimately, what must be achieved through practicing the deity is that the deity never leaves your mind. You never forget about the deity. And that means whenever you encounter even just the slightest difficulty, you're instantly able to remember the deity. For example, imagine if somebody were to come and hold you at gunpoint, point a gun at you. So what would you feel? What would you think in that moment? So if you think that in that moment I would be able to remember Tara, then with 100% certainty you will also be protected in the bardo when the terrifying appearances will manifest. So whenever you encounter a frightening situation, you should be able to remember the deity. And if you're able to remember the deity, then with 100% certainty, the deity will protect you. And how does the deity protect you? So it is because all beings by nature, the nature of their mind is pure. It is Buddha nature. For example, many people like the Drubchen teachings, and in the Drubchen teachings it says the nature of mind is an original purity. So the fundamental nature of your mind is completely pure. And what is it that makes it be temporarily impure? It is this sense of me, this thought of an I. So if you exchange that for a wish to benefit sentient beings, if you seal the empty mind with compassion, and from within that state, in an instant, remember the deity, then appearances will manifest as the deity. For example, there's probably no one who is a greater sinner than myself. I'm a very sinful person. And from my own personal experience even, I can say that if you're able to remember the deity at those times, the deity will actually appear and protect you. So it is due to the clinging to the body as me, identifying with the body, that we continue to bring along all these karmic imprints that we have accumulated since beginningless time. So in the Buddha's teachings, the Buddha taught the relative truth, that is the infallibility of cause and effect, and then the ultimate truth of emptiness. And many people see a great contradiction between those two truths and develop many doubts around this. So the relative truth, that is the infallibility of karma, is that for as long as you have the perception of a me and you believe in its existence, there will be the karmic imprints that you have accumulated since beginningless time. With 100% certainty they are there. And even the Buddha cannot cover them up with his hand. So you will have to experience the results. But then on the ultimate level, if you overcome this concept of me by cultivating bodhicitta, then the mind becomes pure because that is its natural state. So the natural state of the mind is pure, and therefore it is the deity. There's no difference between the deity and your own minds. It's one and the same. And therefore also it is said that the deity is myself, and I myself am the deity. So now in this context, if you meditate on VajraKilaya, on the basis of bodhicitta, then you become just like this crystal ball upon which the sun is shining, and then all appearances that manifest from it become a manifestation of the deity. All appearances, all perceptions around you become the deity, a manifestation of bodhicitta. It is said within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. So if you never separate from this, you are not separate from the mind of all the Buddhas. And so if you really reflect on that, it is actually something that really makes sense, logically even. So this is the overcoming of the demon of the aggregates, liberating this body as the deity. So liberating is the ripening of the body. So why is it unripe now? It is unripe and immature due to self-grasping. So let go of self-grasping and cultivate an altruistic mind, a wish to benefit sentient beings, and fully believe in this. And in this moment, remember the deity. And if you're able to do that, then in the second bardo, after death, the deity will clearly appear before you. And then you will actually ripen into the form of the deity. So how you ripen into the deity, again, is if you really reflect on these words, it really actually makes sense logically, and how you ripen into the deity. So this is the power that is developed by entering the swift path of the secret mantra.
안 남자도 고도부터는 삼바다 진지가 되는 남자들 아니 소비마다 되더니 유머마들 삼바다 진지가 되는 남자 체제에서 레슬라고 그러지 이들이 가는 거지 삼바다 진지에 그다음에 내가 차초고 대화죠 저것들이 삼바다 진지에 막 제일 지대 뭐 지네 저기라고 쏘다다고 잡아 동다고 사자지고 따와 마도나 다 삼대에서 쏘다고 하다고 잡으면 뒤낭들이 라지가 돈이 됐대요. 삼대가 라지가 다요나. 삼대가 뭐고 찹대요 배나. 대외로 삼대가 라지를 마지고 라비 버지가 삼대가 대라 박시적으로 라지가 창기로 배나. 제가 상모도 뭐 삼대가 용이 있으면 땅을 따하고 또부터 데려서 들리라게 나등 아니도 받은 맛이 받아 따라 처음 보는 거요. 로마물 헌장들은 진짜 좀 용이요. 배나 같이는 태통제를 따다가 말바지 결단과 도망을 박차지를 하죠. 나이도만 이쪽만 들이들이 태통을 보면 태통이 뭐 상태 태통 용말에 상태 양장양도 몰라 삼바체미 받아 그리 줄이지라 뭐들 함지들이 다음에 받차디요. 다음에 또 보시라지 다음에 받이 차디면 깝들이 다시 그대로 찾대 따따나도 가면서 사마까지 이미 생기 탐지 되기도 다음에 생기 탐지 라비 되기도 강릉동에로 속서도 삼 깝들이 제 다시 시래라고 차대 그러니까 나그 생기되는 것들은 다다와는 다지 니요말 삼지그랑지 돈이그랑지 니지랑지 돈이들 왜 가상 다시 버리는데 저번에 뒤에서 무슨 죽이지 못하니 무지마다 못하사 무지까지 도다고 되면 돈 다에 다 죽은 다 무지래 못하지 bak하면 추탁이 하나로만 또 중종이 답도 찾지고 sep지 탐지 대화도 이상고도 sep지 탐지 상고도 대린 고속이지 사바 차차가네 계속 사바 삼지 예르지 타톡 사바 치보 사바 체미바 마치게 받다지 산속도 대공고를 대회는 다 삼지 받다지 보내서는 돈이 남는 거래 다 거기서 처음에 되게 강한 거를 말이 유몽 뒤쪽 대통사제 셉스 유몽을 하지고 이시에 가래시는 이시에 배나 시당 치고들 나무감이 파이 세별마다 시당 나무감이 시당을 하는 거라 되나 시당 다기 니디 박사탐지 돈 서로 이렇게 다 돈이 배나 화장상 제치고 롬망고를 걸 도저히 되는 이마저 시당들이 뒤쌀매 받쳐다 시당 좀 왕저 갑들이 시당을 안 비인지네 메롱 따위 시들 습성상장 차들이 유목을 안 비인지 유목을 안 비시다가 동안 가서 저 장소에서 뒤에 따위 유목을 때려지 너희 체사는 양들이 이제 소라 그만가 차도 내와 지에서는 양게 소리 이사람이가 차는 것들 니와 같은 셈 이제 소를 내온 거를 배나 라미게 뒤오시는들이 유몽을 이시다나 유몽 깝들이 유몽을 남지와서 막 따와같은 이제 잡라 유몽을 이제 유몽도 좀 대동사제 대 유몽을 강차는 기대라 딜레 선 계속 이제 대무시에서 대 마디가 빠져다다 삼바당 hingi를 지내들이 랑게 다음에 삼바당 hingi 삼바세를 받기는 다 내매가테 하고 그래 하고는 되니 락토음도 전에 되나 남도 탐체다 차와지 차단이다 왔잖아 락토들 대세를 내려올 때는 다와서 버티는 거 그 베지다 제 동사제 대든
So then it says, may conquering the demon of afflictions seal it with bliss and emptiness. Now, we spoke about taking the afflictions, the afflictive emotions, as the path. And so there's a relative and an ultimate level to that. And of course, only relying on the ultimate level of the view, only very few can actually take afflictions as the path that way. But in whichever way you can take it as the path, you have to see by looking at your own mind. But for the most part, we must first take them as the path from the relative perspective. And that means by cultivating love and compassion and practicing according to the 37 practices. So you take the afflictions as the path, you practice with the afflictions by giving rise to love and compassion. And this is actually the easier way to take them as the path. Love and compassion is the only cause for temporary and ultimate happiness. And in that, you must first develop a firm conviction, firm trust. And if you firmly trust in that, then you will be able to hold on to love, just like holding on to your own life force. So even though you might not have fully realized the view of Mahamudra, the ultimate truth, if you are able to hold on to love as you would hold on to your own life force, together with that actually the realization of emptiness will naturally arise. And that is because you only hold on to love, and the nature of love is selfless. So just naturally, if you love, there is no thought of a me, a self. Even the love between a mother and her child, for example, naturally is a practice of the 6 paramitas. So think about that quality of love, and especially if you really want to realize the nature of the mind. But for as long as this concept, this sense of me, this I exists, we will have doubts with regard to the view, the nature of the mind. Many doubts will always arise. Even though you might have studied the scriptures for many years, doubts will still arise. There still is this underlying ignorance of grasping at a self. And it is due to this sense of me that we have habituated to since beginningless time in samsara, that many doubts constantly arise. But when love arises, there's also no more doubt within your mind. So for a person who has developed immeasurable love, naturally this thought of me, this self-clinging will disappear. And together with the disappearance of the self, when you then look at the nature of the mind as the self is absent, you can actually see the natural state of the mind that is always present. And so to realize that, therefore, on the relative level, think of sentient beings constantly, day and night. If you always have sentient beings in mind, you never think about yourself. And whenever you hear about suffering in the world or somebody suffering, instantly that feeling comes to you. And actually, this state of immeasurable love becomes a practice of shamatha, calm abiding. At the time when you love, the self is completely overpowered. They cannot be those two states of mind at the same time. So the nature of this love becomes the realization of emptiness. And the nature of this emptiness is love or compassion. So in terms of our practice, what is really most important, Lord Chikden Sungen said that to me, the preliminary practices are more profound than the main part practices. So what are the main part practices? It is to recognize the view, the actual nature of the mind. And then what are the preliminary practices? The preliminary, the foundation to all Dhamma practice, begins by just even reciting a single refuge prayer. And that begins with all sentient beings, wishing for the happiness of all sentient beings. So it begins, the preliminaries begin with thinking of all sentient beings. And this very subtle formation of love that just arises for an instant, in the end must be turned into immeasurable love. And until it has become that, you have to train the mind in that, in bodhicitta. And so that is why love, the cultivation of love, is the most important practice. Because when it arises, then the realization of emptiness will naturally arise. And there is no need to have any doubts about that. So may conquering the demon of afflictions seal it with bliss and emptiness. So this bliss and emptiness, which is their true nature. The true nature of the afflictive emotions is primordial wisdom. So how is that the case? For example, when strong anger arises within you, then do not look at the object that made you angry, but rather look at the very nature of the anger itself. And this is what conquers the karmic imprints, the thoughts of self and other. So do not think about the other person, for example, that made you angry. If you do that, if you focus on the person that made you angry, then often the love that two people had for each other for many years becomes destroyed in one day by getting angry at each other. The anger is so powerful that it destroys it all. And that is also why the nature of anger is said to be the mirror-like wisdom. Because in a moment of anger, of hatred, the mind is pristinely clear. It overpowers everything else. That is also why it is said that when you recognize the nature of the afflictive emotions, all suffering becomes a blissful like ocean of nectar. Actually, there is two times when we come to the natural state of the mind. And often when bliss, bliss emptiness, when bliss becomes very intense, we often fall into this thought-free state, and naturally even like passing out and coming to the natural state of the mind. And there's no more clinging in the mind. And sometimes also when suffering is overpowering, again we come to the natural state of the mind. So recognizing the nature of afflictive emotions will turn all suffering into an ocean of nectar. So that is, afflictions are sealed with bliss and emptiness. So whatever afflictive emotion arises, through the condition of that afflictive emotion, the mind is actually brought to the natural state. And you recognize it if you do not cling at the affliction in a dualistic way. Then you naturally come to the fundamental nature of the mind. But until that is recognized, you must make an effort in cultivating love and compassion, until that sense of a self goes away. And only when immeasurable love has arisen, there is no more self. And when you realize selflessness in this way, that is also what we call vipassana, or a special insight. Shamatha, or calm abiding, is when you become free of all thoughts, attachment and aversion and so on. And vipassana, or special insight, is when you then look at that tranquil mind and see its true nature. So that is the meaning of sealing with bliss and emptiness.
이스들은 이미 동들은 잡도록 해야 요 말이 잡도록 계속 매 받아서 나중에 이제 매들이 선대식이 그런 계속 매 받고 계속 매 봐서 대를 다들 이 라우 좀 사도 로송디 경찰들이 뭐서 다 뒤좀 재원이 셈을 계속 매 봐. 다들 잡소를 제시요 말이지. 차로 제시요래지. 무슨 다지 니지 용이 제일 다 제시요라. 베세다 그래. 니지면은 리센트 다 하고서 선들 제시해봐. 동도 요래지. 내가 좀 입체왕이 있어.
And then it says, may conquering the demon of death bring about the power of immortal life. So birth and death, it is just like ice and water. Now, for as long as we're an ice block, there is death. So water can become ice, so the ice can be frozen, but it can also melt. And for as long as it is an ice block, for as long as there is a dualistic grasping to self and other, the nature of that is suffering, and there is death. And once one realizes the truth of selflessness, that there are no self and other, one becomes like an ocean. And the ocean can't die. The ocean transcends birth and death. So when there is no more grasping at self and other, no more dualistic grasping, there's only Buddha nature, and Buddha nature is like this ocean that transcends birth and death. This is conquering the demon, realizing this nature is conquering the demon of the Lord of Death. It is to realize that the mind cannot die, and it is never born. And that is like an ocean. And for as long as there is dualistic grasping to self and other, one is like an ice block, and there is birth and death. And once you realize the true nature of the mind, the non-dual mind, you become like this ocean, and all these imprints and so forth of birth and death are cleared away.
세고 계시 매바 돈은 계시 능도 상부요. 이거래. 제 가래시는 요래. 능이도 가래서 저거도 빼나 랑이 치고는 며칠인데 물을 못 치고 대화를 뛰래. 이런 것보다 주만 너도 못 체지 싸와들이 나들이 좀 대라서 바닥을 차니 다 위디가도 참아를 달라고 요래. 대를 잡아두면 다들 배 차롱으로 차롱 착불라 제 차기 저런 지나들 대다가 나지한테 납치 상문다고 그래 대를 때는 나지 이제들 무볼 치면 시는 이 양들 대화를 진짜 너는 당시 차당이가 님 지금에 막 카바바나지 세부터로 싸우는 이 고방도 도 차용 거래 대를 때는 모두 좀더 사지 철배들이 라지게 차당이가 오염이 거래 들리지 처음에 또 하고 그래 차당이 오염소는 생활을 하시되 차당이가 막으나 들이 라지게 저 루루로 차용을 그래서는 다 차당이가 유무가 들이 총소나 저하고도 그런데 주마다고 통거도 체지사 와서 주마다고 마음다고 통거도 가래 통거도 야 상모도는 체지사와 무료의 상거에 이 걱정 말한 거는 내가 제거해 네 말하면 저 말이 상거래 어떤데 문제 말이 체지사와지 마잉을 쇼리 레게 체지 샤지고 말한다고 해 뒤는 이 말을 레지 말하면 양처 봐도는지 말하면 싸도 그래 제디 봐도는 말하면 초와 리덕 참아 요래 나다 그냥 가에서 속도 다 다니는 속도 같아 말하면 년발이 체배가 하고서 그래 뭔데만 말하면 빨리 찔리 초와 리덕 참지 다디는 용을 속도 그런 말하면 사반지지지도 뭐지나 참아 좁고 자들 참아가지고 성이 받을 파게 자야 보지 가는 배 쇼아디 오면 몇 다졌는 거래 배세다 그래 오다 박차가 손도 되는 뭐라 믿는 바가 체배가 하고서 이 생제체도 인제와 자기 다 생리들고 유지 딱고 제시매 받들이 하고는 들이다 나도 좀 재미로 좋아하는 정황시다 미라 오 따뜻해도 자연구요래
So among the different kinds of suffering, our greatest fear, our greatest suffering is really the suffering of death. And so therefore that is overcome when we realize that the mind actually doesn't die, it's beyond birth and death. So now, however, that is a suffering for us. There is suffering, so we think that there is suffering. And it is true that there is suffering, but why is there suffering? Now, if you have understood, you might have understood the preciousness of this human life. But then again, there are all these enjoyments and pleasures of this life. So you still develop an attachment to all of these, your family, your children, your husband, your wife, your possessions, your wealth, even your own body, and all of that you're attached to, in the end will be left behind. And so then there is the suffering of separation. And so this attachment is what causes this ice block to become extremely hardened, solidified. The more attached you are, the more hardened, solidified it becomes. It is just like the cold weather making it freeze even harder. So this suffering arises due to our firm belief in the true existence of this life, of appearances, and of our ideas about it. And with that firmly in place, we are very attached to what we like, to happiness, and we have a strong aversion against what we don't like. And in that way, we are accumulating these habits, these imprints, continuously, day and night, just like snowflakes falling down. And this is what has created this appearance, this perception of this solid, concrete existence within samsara. So may conquering the demon of affliction seal it with bliss and emptiness. So we overcome this demon of attachment and aversion, and by overcoming our attachment to this life, actually that leads to the conquering of the demon of death, by understanding that it is all like an illusion and we cannot actually die. So when you're able to somewhat pacify those thoughts of attachment and aversion, if they cannot disturb your mind so much, move your mind so much, you naturally will be in this calm, tranquil state, like calm, abiding water. And when you then really reflect upon it, you can clearly actually see, in this calm state of mind, you can clearly understand that actually it is just all like an illusion, this entire existence. There is no real death. And so clearly seeing that with a calm mind also will reduce the suffering, the fear of death. You begin to see all of these activities in this life like a dream or like an illusion. So how do we see it that way? And normally we think that this life is the reality. And however, when you go to sleep at night and you have a dream, you also engage in various activities in that reality. But then when you wake up, you think that last night's dream was not real. It's already gone. But now this life is real. But this is not true at all. Actually, the moment you enter the womb of your mother until the day you die, this entire life and all its activities are like the dream of one single night, like last night's dream. And actually, each and every day as you fall asleep and go into a dream state, it is just like dying and going into the bardo. It's exactly the same. The bardo state is the same as a dream state. And when you are in a bardo, therefore, you experience the same kinds of feelings of happiness and suffering and all kinds of fears and so on, all created by self-grasping. So we need to first understand that the waking state perception and the dream perception are one and the same, all reflection of self-grasping and the afflictive emotions. For example, a person who has a lot of love and compassion, when they have a dream, they will only have good dreams. They will only have dreams of friends and people offering them gifts and having pleasant conversations and so forth. So they will have like friendly and peaceful dreams, only good dreams. So when you see that, you can understand how everything is created by those imprints within your own mind. And when you understand that the waking state perceptions and the dream perceptions are really one and the same, then you begin to understand how the nature of mind is beyond birth and death. This continuum of awareness transcends birth and death. And so this is now the conquering of the demon of death that brings about the power of immortal life. So when you realize that, then you will not have so much fear in terms of death.
얘네들이 꼰대고 댐바라 뛰니 내가 지고 흘려 가리로 좁고도 눈이 가리로 좁은 거로 죽으라 뛰게 따뜻한 꼰대 삭지를 대화를 뛰니 차당이고 어석답을 좁고 대화 좁고 내가 저는 대화 중에 동이 조용 거리 저가리 저렇게 요말했지 답이 내가 그 속권도 그 요리 나산대가 그 요리 술 저렇게 요말했지 가시를 아니게 되어 연구를 가리 무지강은 맨 나차배가 서로 고가매봐 리셉되어 자캅자캅을 들었지 봐 말이야 미개를 자캅들 되와 라마나 이 미개를 소소소 저거 같이 무지강도 그만 놈이 오리 내가 저걸 해주죠 가이게 더 저거 토니 다다 저것을 어서 줘지 소게 내가 더 내가 저다 내 말도 저기 초다가 내가 가리도 내가 뒤져서 가리했어 딱 발신 족그랬더니 산바다 hin기를 용하고 사와서 내가 이제 죽으려 그랬지 따주다다 내가 그걸 사바다 hin기를 속도 없지 뒤에는 마음과 내가 돌서 내가 랑기를 설정하고 그랬지 사실 나 가라사야 요면 강바 요면 가시기 진으로 빠지는 속다살이 약합을 빌리 저자저 돼서 가야지 저또 저기 제발이 그래서 내가 지금 그렇게 잡고는 공급 상 촉선다 사바다 니게리 시치고들 레드를 시치나 뒤 내가 지금 그렇게 마음을 찌와서 상마지 버려 내가 지금 그렇게 잡고 그러지 같이 때만지 우리 하면은 저 다다게 내가들 라톱이 저 고상마다 다들 내가지 조르리 저세는 남자의 마음에 따르지 베베르가 사트는 남고 마음에 따르지 소나미 때부터 나고 니마타고 니모로 티바메라 데 베토스 집에 내가도 가지 딱발로 말지 너는 저쪽으로 있지해서 그때 내가 집으로 이제 잡서 내가 털게 되어서 고속 사촉선 이따 현지적으로 그래 저들 답을 이거래 동다고 내가 통성을 치고 내가 지금 너지 작은 공방나 들이 죽어라 라도를 주고 자사서는 이놈을 놓고다 저렇게 새끼 동 저기 주마치가 제도가 되다가 들이 저기 그래 사람이 좀 저런 사서 소소 데이터부터 하나도 지금 탐문이들이 뭐 세마스들이 데이터를 럽터바들 이 시합 요바 탐식에 됐다고 하고는 야매양 제기요래. 이 조상적 선남만이라 속다고래. 상속 선남만이 가르지. 처욕야죠. 라기 시합 유모고 하고는 유모고 시작도 버렸어. 그도 상속시 탐색지 알고 제와지 쏟아도 이제 제와지 해당가 차도 왕 땅이 말이지. 다다적 책까지 왔대 이래. 자기들 가더니 참 좋.
And then it says, may conquering the demon of the godly son cause the level of spontaneous accomplishment to be attained. So this needs to, again, has a relative and an ultimate aspect. Now this spontaneous accomplishment here. Now, from an ultimate perspective, for example, now in the Drubchen we speak much about the spontaneous accomplishment. That is, it refers from the ultimate perspective to the spontaneously or naturally a pure mind. So it is naturally pure. When you realize the nature of mind, we call that the state of Vajradhara or the greatly blissful Dharmakaya. So that is the ultimate level, the ultimate meaning of the spontaneous accomplishment, the spontaneously, naturally pure mind. And from the relative perspective, the spontaneous accomplishment means to understand how naturally, how does happiness come about? How does suffering come about naturally? What's the nature of things, the spontaneous accomplishment of things? So it is the spontaneous accomplishment of karma. So on the relative level, therefore, even though we make the greatest effort to run after happiness, after pleasure, by developing many thoughts of attachment and aversion, we actually are creating more suffering. The happiness that we run after, we never really actually get it. And once we think we have it, it changes already. So we can't really actually ever accomplish anything with our afflicted striving. For example, of course, everyone wants to be happy. Everybody wants to be rich. Everybody wants to be free of illness. Of course, there's no one who wants to suffer. But then still, we can see in this world, we don't actually achieve that, what we're running after. There is some people in this world, in some countries, who experience greater happiness, less sickness, more happiness in their minds, and so on. And also between countries, some are better off than others. And then there's others who experience suffering their entire life, who are constantly sick and who are always unhappy and so on. So that is the spontaneous accomplishment. This is the natural course of things. A cause leads to a certain result. So the spontaneous accomplishment of the causes that we have created. And therefore we should make an effort in creating the right causes. In the morning prayers we say, may beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. That is love and compassion. And if you have that, naturally what you do with body, speech and mind will become a practice of the 6 paramitas, will become the cause of happiness. If you experience happiness, then make a greater effort and continue to cultivate love and compassion. That is your cause of the spontaneous accomplishment of the happy states in the 3 higher realms, temporarily. For example, we can see in this world there is some who do not even have a place to live, have no food to eat, cannot provide for themselves. And then there is others who can do many great things for the people, for their country, and so on. So what is the difference between them? The difference lies in the causes that they have created. So on the relative level, the spontaneous accomplishment means trust in the cause of love and compassion. Then happiness will be accomplished spontaneously. in a temporary sense, but also ultimately it will lead to enlightenment. For example, there are some people who don't really believe in karma, who don't really understand karma, and they think that all of their achievements and their happiness is accomplished through their own capabilities, but they don't think about what has actually caused it. And so once they have enjoyed the fruits, it will come to an end again. So such happiness, such enjoyment is just like the fire flame of a candle in the wind. It is that those who lack merit, their activities are this fire flame in the wind. And those who possess merit, their activities become like the sun illuminating all effortlessly. So on the relative level, in brief, trust in karma, trust in the right causes. Bodhicitta will be the cause of happiness in the higher realms temporarily, and ultimately you will see the ultimate truth. You will attain the state of the Buddha Vajradhara. So the ultimate accomplishment is to seize the royal seat of the Dharmakaya, and for the sake of others to manifest the Sambhogakayas and the Nirmanakayas. And then you will be able to truly benefit all sentient beings. So that is the meaning of this spontaneous accomplishment. And the path, the practice of the secret mantra, Vajrayana, is a true method to accomplish this spontaneously. So many of you who are endowed with great wisdom understand that, and you do practice in this way. So in brief, there's really just two things that we need to make an effort in, and that is the twofold bodhicitta. So the ultimate bodhicitta is one's own awareness, your own wisdom mind that recognizes the afflictive emotions and is therefore able to destroy them. And then on the relative level, it is the relative bodhicitta, that is love, that recognizes love as precious as one's own life force, and that doesn't allow the mind to become controlled by anger and jealousy. So ultimately, there's really just those two things that are very important. So Dashi Deleg, and we stop the teachings.
뭐가 받치 잡게 도와서 뭐대 지송 잡게 독수 대처래 뭐가 독지는 독수도 차도래도 메테나 하고 되게 유몽 동안 저게 충충적으로 초함이가 차도를 되니까 며칠 되게 성남 되지 펑 다독지와리 제압 망보를 되게 성남 펑도 차도래야지.
Actually, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and that is this one line later on. It says, so the conquering the enemies and the obstructors and so forth, or destroying them along in somewhere in the text. And so this refers to the afflictive emotions, as we mentioned. And what I wanted to mention is, in my opinion, the worst of the afflictive emotions is jealousy. Because among the 5 poisons, it is a very subtle affliction and we don't really recognize it. But it is that affliction that robs you of your merit and all happiness in this life, and also ultimately in all future lifetimes. So may the wisdom, awareness, Kila cut through this.
From the
mantra garland light rays and a second mantra garland radiate and pass from my mouth into the mouth of the mother. The self-resounding mantra proclaimed by the inconceivable dakas and dakinis in the mother's four chakras across the mind stream. From the mother's secret place the mantra garland enters into my vajra, and the deities residing in the centers of my channels proclaim the sound of the mantra. The mantra garland then dissolves into my heart. I visualize this unceasingly.
Om Benda Gala Gala Yanza Hong Pang Gadam Gayen Gayen Benzaye Ante De Habaranze Marasena Damar Danaye Sarvam Pene Pa Hong Pe Om Benda Gala Gala Yanza Hong Pang Gadam Gayen Anzete aparanzete marasena danayesa bavombe benza gele gele yanza vomba gadam gayenza benza ye anzete aparanzete marasena damadan sarvam bene bavombe Om benza gele gele yanza vomba Kadam Goye Benzaye Hanzede Aparanzede Marazena Tamardana Yeho Pam Hom Be Om Benza Gele Gela Yanza Hom Pam Ho Kadam Goye Benzaye Hanzede Aparanzede Marazena Tamardana Sama Beni Bam Hom Be Om benza gele gela yanza hong pamo katam kayens benza ye anze de aparan sarvam bene bam hong pei Om benza gele gela yanza hong pamo katam kayens benza anze de aparan de marasena damadana Sarvam bene bang pe Oma e re le o ang ga gang ja nya ta na pa bam Yara lava shaka sahag cha re le o ang ga ja nya na ta pa ma yara lava shaka sahag cha re le ang ga ja nya ta no ba ma yara la wa shaka sahai cha om benza sato sama mone pala ya benza sato tino ba di dande do me ba so de kaya me ba so bo cha yo me Sarva siddhi mibdaya to sarva karma sujame zedam shayam goro ho ha ho bangave sarva tatangata benja benja bhava maha sama sato om benja sato samaya manupala benja sato teno pa titande do me bhava sadekaya me bhava sujajaya me bhava Anaradu me bhava sarva siddhi me payata sarva karma sutame zedashayam koro Aho bangave sarva tatangata benjam Sato om benja sato samaya manupalaya benja sato tenopa Idande do me bhava de kayo me bava sobo jayo me ba Anurag do me bava sarva siddhi me payata sarva karma soja me zedam hiryam guru ha 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 ho bangave sarva tadangata benjamami benjabhava maha samaya sadhu Omeye dharma hidu pabhava hidintu kintatangata heyo vadintu kinsayo nuru avambode maha shamanaye sova Omeye dharma hidu pabhava hidintu kintatangata heyo vadintu kinsayo nuru avambode maha shamanaye sova Omeye dharma hidu pabhava hidintu kintatangata heyo Mahashamana Yeso Vai Vai Bhajan Parbelai Toije Shana Samwen Jabamba Kwasong Toyen Jeledo Bamen Ganden Nyam Jaisha
Om VajraKilaya Sarva Bingen Bam Hum Bei Om VajraKilaya Sarva Vignan Bam Hong Pei. Om VajraKilaya Sarva Vignan Bam Hong Pei. Om VajraKilaya Sarva Vignan Bam Hong Pei. Om VajraKilaya Sarva